Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Friday, December 5th, 2025, Trading Trends ETF edition. Thanks for joining us this week. Very impressive day again in the markets. We did some buying, bought some Palantir, got some long Palantir and some Micron in anticipation of a small blow off tops. You'll see what I mean in the charts. If you've been watching, you know what I've been forecasting and seeing for next week, and it's going exactly according to plan. Let's get talk and summarize the day and the week. A lot happened. So today, China, Nat Gas, and the communications led by Meta and Google all had a great day. China has been slumping a little bit along EM. Nat Gas, it was a very cold day in the East Coast. Some frozen pipes, I believe I read, froze, and Nat Gas ran. We'll take a look at the charts as it's getting very interesting after a huge run. And Brazil, they had an election or political news. Bolsonaro backing his son, I believe, as a candidate, and the index had a horrible fall, down 6%. It's recently been on a tear, and new all-time highs for silver, developed markets, equal weight stocks. So the average stock is worth more today than any time in history. SOXX, the semiconductors, and that's more of the equal weight one, not just heavy on NVIDIA. So that should give you more, warm fuzzies going into, valuations of the semis at this part of the run. VTV, which is value. KBWB, this is how I know the market is pretty much at ease. That's banks, not XLF, but the KBWB, a lot more regionals as well. And different size banks, like the TDs. It's just different from XLF. That had all-time highs today, as well as the copper miners. Okay, and really when you step back from the week in terms of absolute gain, it was really about approximately 9% rallies in nat gas and uranium. So a little bit more of commodities push, looking at those two specifically. So we'll take a look at all the relevant big-time moving charts to summarize this crazy week and see what setups we have for next week ahead of the Fed. We'll get to my forecast and SPY. It's, like I said, working. But let's real fast look at some movers. Meta, as we said, alluded to in the opening, up nearly 2%. A nice day for that one. They're cutting a lot of spending in the metaverse. Companies called Meta, they're cutting billions of dollars in metaverse spending. Go figure, help the stock up 2%. Google also up in that complex of 1.2%, and to round out the XLC major holders. Palantir up 2.5%. Like I said, I bought that today. I got long synthetically through in ETF, PLTR. I think tech rallies into next week. I like what I'm seeing. And also, note NVIDIA down 0.5%. So there's a little bit of, I don't want to say bifurcation, but some leaders are taking a little bit of a back step and others are starting to step up. Intel continuing up 2%. We already talked about Palantir. Amazon not really doing much to discuss. Oracle, good to see up 1.5%. Important for the overall market for that to get its footing. And then Micron, as I said, I've called it a perfect stock so many times. I looked at my portfolio and said, wait a second, how are you not long this in some way here? And I like the upside. So I got long that as well through an ETF. I expect all these to have, and we'll look at the chart in a second, to have nice several, 3-ish days. You'll see what I mean. Okay. So very below average volume trading today. Typical melt up environment. What you're looking at here is basically the daily. Each bar is 30 minutes. SPY had 60 million shares on the day. We typically average around 85 for the past month. So not quite a half day, but definitely a little bit light. And VXX still continuing to print all new all-time lows. So that's pretty much what you want to see. With that just melt up environment with low volume as well, like I said. So this was the intraday. We had a number out this morning, a little bit volatile here, opening bell here. We actually peaked at 10:30 a.m. at 688. We came within $1 of new all-time highs. I'm sure folks were sniffing it. And then really we got, I'm thinking of that scene in 300 when he got kicked a little bit and he fell into the well. From 10:30 a.m., we never recovered up till VWAP. VWAP actually slid the entire day, and sellers had essentially more control than buyers throughout the rest of the day. The peak came at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. VWAP was 680.620. We ended up closing just a touch beneath that, although a nice little surge towards the end of the day. You can see the bottom here. Look at the bottom candles both times, 684.60. Buyers stuck in and said, we are going to maintain and uphold that level, and they did. As I zoom out, so here's your SPY on a 1-year chart. So again, we were saying that this was setting up for a bullish accumulation. I have my notes here, November 24th, right before Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to be, cute here. Look at this huge spike. We didn't say right here, buy the market at 652. We didn't say that. Right here, we said the market holds after here, the 24th, you buy into strength. And we said right there is where you want to buy. VWAP that day was 658. And we said we were heading into a right around 695 target for basically Fed week, almost Fed day, Fed hour, to be honest, if you want to get really splashism with the charting here on the cycle work. But that's where I have it seeing kind of that zigzag, what's typical with Powell during the presser. But absolutely a beautiful step. And again, what happened really fast, how can we gain that kind of momentum? A lot of magical, we'll describe it as magical, which is what I think we use in finance. But right here, when you get above the 50 RSI, in terms of the relative strength of where the stock is trading according to itself, in terms of its time frame that you have, for me, it's a 14-day in the relative strength. The toss and turn, the tiger rope changes battles there. You could do on an intraday time frame, and you see momentum build there. 50 RSI is a major thing I use, crosses and thrusts above it and below it. And that happened on the 24th when we had that signal. Stock that day was 667. And then immediately you almost go up 20 points, and we're still not there yet. I still have for the date right around December the 10th, which just so happens to be when Jay Powell speaks, and he'll cut 25 bips. I don't think they're going to cut 50 because the market will crap itself thinking that something is horrendously wrong. They'll cut 25. They're not going to scare anyone. And basically what I have here is, so I'm expecting an up day. It's decent trading for crypto throughout the weekend is what I'm expecting, although it did look weak today. Bitcoin struggling to hold 90. Ethereum looks stronger. But I expect crypto to find its footing a little bit. And like I said, Monday and Tuesday, I expect to have strong days in the market right around 695 going into that Jay Powell presser. And I will be selling a lot of tactical longs middle next week, thinking that almost a bell right there could surge a little bit more. If you want to get cute, 696, 698, maybe someone pays 701 in SPY. And then I think that will be it. I'll update you in a video Monday. And then, of course, the big one on Wednesday. But I do think we'll be roughly 1.5% higher from here. Today was a pretty much flattish day, up to 20 bips. Beautiful stair step. You have the shorter moving term averages now pointed higher. And again, the all-time high still struck 2 days before Halloween on October 29th at 690. I think we take it out. You came very close today. Let's look at the drivers at what exactly is going to potentially get us there. And always like to see how big the pizza is to see how much the slices can get around, right? So here you have a little bit of global breadth improving with China. FXI had not been doing too much. You can almost see like a pennant here. You see this top back on October 2nd. So they did it, about 2.5-ish weeks before we did it here in the States. And then an ugly bearish engulfing October 10th, like we had much across the globe. Look at this beautiful hold here of $38 in FXI. It tagged it again the week before Thanksgiving right here on November 21st. Still rising 200 moving average. And look, why am I a little bit excited here about this? Because you're just above 50 RSI here. China has not really been able to do this. And then when it does, it really hits ahead at 41. And then that's it. Is this time different? Today up a nice 1.5%. The chart still looking constructive. I think it has a little bit more to go, but I believe the ceiling at 41 is immense. So again, the 52-week high is 42. I think it has a little bit more to go. I'm long EM. I think it gets right in here, this crowded area, and that is it. So a little bit more good times to go for China to about $41 mid next week. And then I see a little bit of a global, I don't want to say rug pull, but it's going to surprise people because the whole Santa Claus rally, although that starts on Christmas Eve, if you actually look at the charts. So that is pretty much it. So I think you're going to have a lot of exuberance to begin the week, and then Powell will say something, who knows, about maybe less visibility into a number of cuts next year, and then you'll see sell-offs towards the end of the week. It sells off for about 2 weeks in SPY down to about 6,800 level, and then you get back to that 7,000, very close to 7,000 SPX New Year's Eve. The charts look very clean like that, and that's just exactly what I'm kind of expecting and how I'm positioned. That's what it looks like, and so far it's going to fruition so far. All right, number two, we were talking about frozen pipes, natural gas, a big day here of 4.5%. Look at this. This is absolutely extraordinary. We talked about getting diversification outside of typical Mag 7, S&P. Look at this. UNG overbought 70 RSI for the first time since February. It peaked just a couple weeks later at $24. The 200-day moving average, which has served as resistance, fierce resistance since late June, it actually has now rose above today, that figure at 1577, and today a huge move higher. It was up a lot more, actually, to 1699. So they sold at 60 cents off from there, 4-ish% or so. I was taking a good look at this today. It's, for me, full valuation, we talked about this before, is right around that 1590 level. I think this is a turnaround, though, longer term for nat gas. So I want to see the stabilize and maybe just step out to the side for the next 2 weeks. I'm not super crazy about selling upside calls, and you're not going to make money selling calls in this anyways. It's a cheap $16 ETF. So what you do is buy, typically like March. I would wait 2 weeks and then probably buy the March, maybe like 18 calls. They're pretty cheap, so position size it properly. And this looks to be, I like to see recoveries like this. This 200-day, if you want to be an even lazier trader and wait for more evidence, wait at the evidence type of approach, wait for it to hold 1575 for about 5 to 10 days. And then before you know, this thing will have an 18 handle, and then it'll probably be targeting those $23 52-week highs. Understand natural gas itself, the contract is at 3-year highs. So this is a weird tracker, but I do believe this is going higher, and you're seeing a nice carve around. UNG also the best ETF of the week, up 11%. No one beats that, and it's freezing outside, and I think it has something to do with it. Number 3, big mover of the day. So it was FXI up 1.5%, natural gas up 4.5%, and a little bit Mag 7 complex here. XLC up a very nice 1.2%. We're talking about it because that is a multiple standard deviation move for this. Meta has finally come to life. Google has been, they should rename it Goliath, because it's just been just an absolute monster. Right here, XLC had a great run. I think it's interesting today. They rejected it at 117.60 and they sent to 117. Of course, if we're calling for new all-time highs, this will drift up as well. These are a couple of trillion-dollar companies. The chart to me does not look like it wants to get above. Again, the all-time highs are at 119.5. Look at this resistance that's served here. 117.5 has been resistance since September 30th. I think it holds. So you may get to 118 on some bullish and animal spirits, but that's about it. There's better areas than this. I think it's because of Google has had such an amazing run recently. You have to take a closer look at Meta if you really want to get into the the dispersion there. But I don't think this has a ton of upside left. But XLC, a big day, up 1.2%. Let's take a look at what they kicked the crap out of. And Brazil, oh my gosh, down 6%. This was from a 52-week high. Look at this. So this is all the way back to trading. First discovered for November 10th. So this is going back to last I checked, that's 25 days or so of trading in essentially one candle down 6%. A monster move. And yes, it was 52-week highs yesterday, and an overbought reading as well. And of course, they had an event, a catalyst today. So how ugly does it go? I would keep away after something like this. It has such a huge run like this, especially above that breakout here at 31.5, and then it goes to 33.5, tested again at 31.5, and then it rips and overextends to 34.5. I'd rather just stay away, let the dust settle. This one looks to me to be somewhat in the penalty box for 2 weeks. If you're lucky enough to get an entry at 31.5, I would take it, unless the country absolutely falls apart. But this has been on fire. More green days than not since November the 21st. 2 red days, and this is one of them for the past 2 weeks. So let it purge a little bit. They close near the lows of the day. It looks like folks are not super done being bearish on Brazil here. Lows 32.43. They closed 12 cents above that, so not really impressive. I would wait out for about 2-ish weeks, like I said, and entries under, to be frank, I would think under, look at your moving averages here and modal Bollinger Bands. I think under 33 will end up being rewarded, but it's going to be a little bit more patient. I think other better opportunities may arise. And also, again, still holding 50 RSI even after today's bloodbath. I'll round up. It's 49.6, and there it has remained above 50 since October 20th. So still strong characteristics internally underneath. Can't hate it, but definitely I wouldn't chase this for the next 2 weeks. All right, so they hammered that today, and of course, as associated, it was going to be the broader ETF. This is ILF. This is a new 52-week high today. It did it on the open, and then they sank that down 4% due to its, of course, relation and weighting in Brazil. This one sank exactly to the 20-day moving average. Still above 50 RSI, exactly the same date as before, essentially since mid-August. I'm sorry, since mid-October, holding 50 RSI. Same thing I said for Brazil goes for Latin America. Stay with this one. Stay out for about 2 weeks. If you are able then to get an under 30 half, essentially where we are today, I think it's a decent level with a target of 32. And that's it for ILF or Latin America. And then the third big loser of the day. So the pain today came from Brazil. If you had any exposure to Brazil or Latin America. And then the third one is ARKG, Kathy Wood's basket of genomic stocks. This has been on a mad tear, if you recall here, for the last 2 weeks or so, from 26 all the way to 32, an absolute monster move. Its actual 52-week high still coming back in October at $34. It got very close, and today down 3%, which actually is just about 1.5 standard deviation mover for ARKG. It's on a little bit of the more high volatile side, so 3% ain't nothing. But to me, it looks like this. It's interesting, consider the backdrop, like Druckenmiller, the GOAT, says. It's about 80% market, how you construct your trade of what's going to happen, 10% essentially the sector, and then 10% the stock itself. So if I'm calling for all-time highs, I don't think this is going to absolutely crap to the downside. But to me, this looks like it just hit its ceiling at 32. I believe in that resistance going back to the week of the 52-week highs. I don't think it's got enough of a thrust right here to do it, considering it's already blasted from 26 to 32. It's had a very, very nice run, and I think it corresponding crapped out 63 RSI. I just don't think it has what it takes to go there. I think this actually hovers over the next 2-ish weeks to about 29.75 to 30 even, and that's going to be a great invitation to get into one of the proxies for biotechs. It's a hot sector. XBI made a 52-week high today. This is a bit of a laggard, interestingly enough, but more green days than not since also the November 21st. There's been a mad rotation, as we said. Again, that just coincides with the day this crossed over 50 RSI. You always see that thrust. Imagine that kind of Squid Game episode with the tug of rope. Let's get a 50 RSI. Your legs are slipping. You're going the other way. The other person has all the power. Pretty much it. Okay, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. Visualized, of course, through a TV show. Top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. Number 1, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but that is natural gas. We already did our forecast for it, up 11%, or an average of 2% a day. I don't think the sun is exactly coming out this weekend. I'm breaking out my shorts. So I think this will also maintain higher. December seasonality-wise is not amazingly strong for the nat gas contract, as I read today and noticed, but this looks good. Again, this is very likely going higher. It reminds me of last year. Let me just zoom out really fast. You always want to pay attention, especially with this. Look, this was a very easy trade in 2024 in terms of just selling when it got to 200-day moving average. Just picture pretty. And then really what happened last December was, it's almost the exact playbook. December of last year actually was a meeting that Fed cut rates. The 200-day stopped going down, and we started to go higher, and then this put in highs in March. Could something exactly be happening today? Yeah, very, very possibly, even like to the exact same level. So I think it would be a good long for 3 months, and especially if it holds $16, you can target $24 coming up in several months from here. So natural gas looks like a good place to be this week. The place to be. Number 1 ETF up 11%. Number 2. Goes to a commodity, although not high as much rallied in absolute terms. Definitely a better way to say that. But uranium up 6.5% on the week, even given today's 2.5% decline. Uranium, not long currently. I was. This looks like a little bit extended for me. I think this hit its head right here. Is this a 1-year view? There you go. To me, this looks like it got a little bit... that move from 41 to 50, a bit much for me. I also don't love that it just barely meerkatted its way here above the 50 RSI. It is holding it at 53, but I don't know if it has what it takes. For me, over the next 2 weeks, I think this is headed towards about, sounds crazy, but about $42. So still 200-day moving average, still moving higher. We'll still be holding that, nothing in jeopardy, but I don't want to chase this here. This looks to me, best case scenario, range bound. It will live under 51 for the next 2-ish weeks, no matter what happens to me in the global markets. I don't like the lower highs here either. I know overall the chart looks great. But I don't like the lower highs here from the ultimate high in October. And they saw a lower high here October 30th. And then you had a really ugly level here on November 21st when it traded all the way down to 40 even. And then the buyers held in there at 41.5. Yeah, I don't like it. This could get ugly, I think, to the downside in terms of I'm not expecting advances. But it's had a great week, up 6.5%. I would almost look at selling calls. But again, given the environment, I don't think that's happening either. So for me, a no-touch uranium here. I think it goes lower. But it's had the second best week, up 6.5% this week. And the number 3, you got to love this if you're long pretty much any kind of beta, the SOXX. I'm not talking about the ones on your feet, the SOXX. Semiconductor Ishares new all-time high today. This isn't just 40% NVIDIA either. It's a better balanced ETF. NVIDIA has not been even above 190 a share. This looks great here. I think this has a little bit more to go. It's up 1% today. This to me is heading to $318. It got to $313 today, and then they Dikembe'd it, and it barely closed, just a singe under VWAP, similar to the broader market. This has, I think, a nice bullish Monday, Tuesday, and I think it's going to hit its head at right around 316, actually. So right where my cursor is there. And then, again, trees don't grow to the sky. Haven't said in a little bit. This run began on the 24th at 273. So I'm not saying, folks saying, oh, the next leg's coming higher. Yeah, over time. But for right here, that's going to encapsulate this run. That's why I'm not calling for 7,100 S&P, Christmas Eve, if that makes sense. So a little bit more to go. Truly, like I said, $7 or 2%. And that'll likely be it on the SOXX. I bought Micron because it's been surprisingly a little bit of a laggard in this like run here in the past 2 weeks. AMD as well. I chose Micron. New all-time highs, though, for the SOXX. Expect that to go a little bit higher in the early to mid next week. All right, let's keep this going. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. If you were in this area, you got no love. BITO, your number 1 loser. I'm sorry, Bitcoiners. It just is what it is. IBIT wasn't a huge crapper. It wasn't MicroStrategy. Like, really, BITO was really the weak one this week, down 7%. Not horrendous, but it was your worst ETF performer, down 3% today. The 52-week low came on December 1st, just 4 days ago, at about $12.40 a share. Now, what for BITO? We alluded to it in the beginning of the show. I think it has a little bit more to go upside, very short term, just given the animal spirits of what I'm expecting globally. I think even, Bitcoin will get a nut here. But I think it rallies to about 1430, does BITO here. Short term, obviously, of course, like I always say, see what Ethereum and Bitcoin do over the weekend. But this looks like I just can't imagine that was the run from here, 1240, as I said, to 1360. I don't think this is weaker than I thought. And I guess that's what you should expect from an asset that's been sub 45 RSI since Halloween. So really, they're just selling first and then asking questions later if they get to ask it at all. So again, this is BITO. The charts tell me you should get a dead cat bounce to about 1430, which is $1.10 from here, about an 8% move. But there's better ways to trade BITO than this. We're talking about it because it's your worst ETF performer this week, down 7%. Frown. All right, number 2 is VXX. Love to see that. New all-time low today, VXX. We've been talking about this, forecasting it. I know, to me, forecasting a non-time series like VXX is difficult, but to me, it really illuminates and clarifies things. And we've been talking about this. I had a sell signal on this November 24th, same obviously day inverse. You want to say buy the S&P. That's in a bullish accumulation phase. Then VXX thereby inversely would be in a bearish distribution phase. And we had that November 24th. Look at this big candle. On the 21st was the near-term high. Look at that lid at $41. The 200 days at 45.60. The near-term high is going back to the 4-month highs are at 41. We touched it October 16th, 17th during that scare. And then we touched it again November 20th, 21st during that scare. And boom, life comes at you fast. We're now at $30. I expect us to reach a crescendo of a bottom right around the 29 handle. I have not changed my tune to that. You came very close to low, say 30.65. It closed there. This is the market telling you they don't care about your puts. essentially, I'm exaggerating to make a point, but there's no reason to buy insurance. The S&P puts are essentially worthless. Volatility is so low to the downside that this will continue to go lower. And I think you're going to see a 29. I think you're going to see a 29 quarter handle on this, and that will let you know that the upside in SPY is done. And then inversely, you will know to take money off your longs. That's a signal I use as well. VXX, the second worst week after Bitcoin. So technically, one of the worst trades you could have been all week was Bitcoin calls, because vol went lower and then Bitcoin obviously went lower as well. So double whammy. And then lastly, this is totally yields related. Utilities down 4%, moving like vol itself. Utilities down 4%, still a very constructive, great looking chart. Peaked October 16th at essentially 46.90. And here we are going all the way back to the basically, what is this? Almost 3-month lows, 2-month lows here. But look at this, really an ugly plunge. Again, exactly what I'm talking about. Utilities goes under 50 RSI. It happened on the first 4 days ago. Spot that day, VWAP 44.5. And for utilities, that's a big move. Look at how it just drifts down, and the slinky just continues going lower. Look at the support it had at 44 and now 43. A lot can happen at that 50 RSI. It's almost like nothing good happens after midnight. Nothing good happens under 200-day moving average. Similar things can happen, and signal strength can gather at 50 RSI. So here, this does not look good. Utilities for the next week or so. I believe this continues to go lower in the penalty box, and then I would want to purchase. I think it'll coincide with the market beta rip, meaning, when I'm seeing the top for the S&P Wednesday, I think this may very well start to signal a buy signal. But to me, this looks like it wants to go to, hold on a second. This chart is wonky. XLU is a, one second. All right, my thing's playing games here. But that's XLU here. I'm having two different things. Bar charts telling me. There we go. All right. Yeah, after that, I think this may want to bottom at right around 43. And like I said, over time, back to 44. All right. My screen's freezing up here. Trades of the past 5 days. If you're long that gas into this frigid East Coast activity, that's the best trade of the week. Short BITO, second best, and then long uranium, third best. Now, as we wrap up, let's go into the top 3 trades of the past 52 weeks. Let's see if they have juice. This has turned into the metal story. When you look back at 2025, it was the metal story. As long as inflation, or whatever you want to call it, is an issue, dollar strength or lack thereof, gold, silver has been the story this year. The number one ETF, and I really wish we could have a different variety, but it's really all the same trade. Your number one trade of the year is GDXJ, up 120% year to date. You got to allocate some to this, although not at this current time. Look at this double top seemingly right here for the GDXJ. GDX is up very similar. It's up like 115%. I went for GDXJ just because it has more in absolute terms, although GDX is more liquid, especially if you're trading options on that. The top came on October 16th at 112, and look, it came very close this week, 110, and then boom, and then today an ugly candle down 30 bips, but you could see where it's going there. I think this is going south for the next 2 weeks to about $101 or $5 decline from here. Not too shabby. That's 5% last I checked. When this thing moves, it moves. And basically, I'm targeting this, the area of the former breakout. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Again, 50 RSI, absolutely maintained by this group. Actually, above 46 since early November. They have rushed to get this thing in anytime it sniffs its 20-day moving average, which is 101. That'll be your invitation. Look at buying GDXJ. Probably like the week before Christmas, probably somewhere where the bit of a cooling off in SPY is when you're going to want to pick up some GDXJ. But that is your year-over-year leader, up 120%. Wanted to change up some of the trades. Number 2 leader, again, there's GLD. We're going to go with SLV. They're all very similar. We're going to go with SLV up 85%. So number 1, can't beat it. GDXJ up 120%. Nothing beats that. Number 2 is SLV, and this has Momo right now because this hit all-time high today. Although you have a bearish divergence, not even touching 70 RSI. It's very close, 69.7. And then you got rejected there. This thing traded 53.81 and then it actually closed 52.82, which is under VWAP on the day. Thankfully made silver earlier this month on a very, very quick options trade. You can either buy GDXJ in 2 weeks or SLV or a little bit of both. You don't need both. This is very impressive strength from silver. Absolutely risk on, even more than the yellow precious metal. I would wait this one out personally, and that's what I'm doing, to about $48. I think this seems destined that it's going to go to this former level. Look at how many times old resistance becomes new support. So I'm firmly a believer that it had such a hard time with this 48.5 to 48.75 level, and gaps to me almost always get filled. So I think over the next 2 weeks, it's going to go right to there, 48.5. You said it's trigger for yourself, a signal for yourself to buy that. You could probably do March 50 calls. You could buy SLV, position sizes correctly because they're also cheap options. And yeah, but SLV is your number 2 leader year over year. I think you get an opportunity to participate in 2 weeks for these metal trades at very good levels. And the number 3, I bought this today in addition to the Palantir and the Micron. Also bought South Korea. This is your number 3 leader year over year. I love that. It's a great tech play through 40% of Samsung and another Korean firm that escapes me right now, Hynix. So 40%, not typical exposure you can get from a typical ETF. I think they're flocking to, and also there's a bit of a domestic patriotic bias going on over there. I read that folks are really, really being encouraged to buy South Korean stocks. And what do you know? I just look at the chart, and it's up 70%. And last I checked, this isn't gold or silver. So this looks good. I think it's going to have just a small blow off top, hence why I bought it. I'm not turning a trade into investment, although I think you could with South Korea. But for real, personally, I'm looking at essentially equivalent. Whoops to that. Okay, you guys see that. For me, I think this is getting to $97. Just more of a tactical trade to get some global exposure, even outside EEM, like the strength I saw of FXI. This today, this looks like to me it's getting to $97, which is right there where my cursor is. I respect that, resistance from foreign levels too. I don't think it's getting to the all-time high from a month ago, that crazy 101 level. I'm not holding out for that. So short one, a couple dollars, $3 more. Also like that it has above 50 RSI. I think it could spring higher soon. So that's EWY. That is the story of the year. It's been the metals, gold, and silver, and then it's been South Korea. And then everything else really pales in comparison. You guys have an awesome, wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you on Monday. I think you're getting those all-time highs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Get bulled up. Peace.